Okay, as you can see, the Twin Busch lift is coming out. We'll explain why as we kind of get through here, but the plan here today is to put my new Nussbaum Jumbo 7, which is a full rise scissor lift. This lift here is, its maximum height is 72 inches. The Nussbaum is 78 inches. So I'm 6'2", so I'm 74 inches, and so this one I have to do a little dip. But the main reason is we are carrying Nussbaum lifts, and so Byron's here to help me kind of work through. You guys keep doing what you're doing, and we'll start getting this out. So I already took the ramps out. My ramps will be here probably tomorrow, the Nussbaum ramps, but we're going to get the Twin Busch, and don't send me an email. This is already gone, already sold. I'm giving it to Billy at Presidential Automotive Detail. This is a good lift. I mean, for $3,500, you know, it's not bad. But Nussbaum is the best lift, and so we'll talk about that as we kind of go through this process. We want to try to get those under there.
Yeah, we need to get your big pry bar.
This is all I got. There's limited pickings here.
Well, let's get into the back end and see if we can pick something up here with it. There we go.
Look at that. We got all that we need.
I've got a tool that I need to show him you can buy that you don't. I'm gonna move over here. Move it over to the center. There we go, right there.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this lift together, so that way it really doesn't have to do any leveling or bleeding or anything like that. It should just work, theoretically. Go.
Let's move it over to the center. There we go. It's going to be a little wobbly, but she shouldn't fall.
No, it doesn't have far to fall.
Just put it under there real quick.
Got it.
There we go. Now let me see if I can go up a little higher with this.
Okay.
You get it?
It's got a little there you go. We're in.
Yeah. You're going to stack this one on top of this one and put that on top of that, and then pick it all up at one time.
Yep.
There we go. Except that wasn't it. It's this. Nope, that's the motor. That should be it. Okay, you got it. There we go. When you put it somewhere where you can get back under it from this side, though. Because when we come back in, we're going to want to be under that side. Give me the one side?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And we're going to want to move that as far back this way as we can, because that's the heavy end of it. Do you have a small ratcheting strap at all?
Nope.
No?
I don't keep stuff that I don't use. And so that means I don't have what I need when I need it.
That might be enough to hold it, I don't know. Keep coming in. You want to get those forks in there as far as you can go. Keep on coming.
Oh, there goes the floor.
You're not going to be under it far enough there. No, I take that back.
You're good.
Now you're only going to have the amount of hose. You're going to have to literally wobble back and forth to get over there.
Oh, freaking oil slick.
Coming through you, man.
Yep. So just bring it forward more, and we can just push it on.
Okay, you'll see if we can spin it. You knew that was happening.
Yep.
Holy moly, didn't want that to happen either.
It's all right. That's all we needed.
There you go. How can you get this there?
Right on the edge of it.
Oh, I see.
know when I peek out the other side.
That's it. It's all right, just back up.
You just don't have any big zip ties, do you?
I got zip ties, that I got.
There we go.
I don't know how I get myself in these messes. Oh, what the? All that Mustang oil, Jeff, all over them. I always blame Jeff.
What do you got? You need 12 of the 1/2 inch and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 3/16.
So 3/16 needs a 3/16 bit, right? Or is it 5/32?
3/16.
Yeah.
It's different. It's same as a tap. If you get a 3/16 anchor,
Yeah.
you gotta.
You said 10 of the 3/16?
Yeah, and if they don't have 3/16, you can go with quarters. It's just they don't have to be that big. So yeah, 2 inches is fine.
Yeah, and we need a funnel.
Transmission
Funnel.
funnel.
Get to use my little rotary. This thing's awesome. Where is it? Uh-oh. What is it? Somebody that has it at their house, I'm gonna murder you. Okay. Yeah. This little guy.
Wow,
It's awesome.
that is a little guy.
Yeah, like the big, you know, the big M18 ones are just too big for
Here you go.
All right.
Too bad the hot dog guy wasn't there.
Alrighty.
Now, these are a lot wider, aren't they? Or a lot narrower on the Nussbaum.
This is one made in the United States.
Yeah.
28, 28, 26, 26 is 52. And 80, I mean, it works. You can do it. Unless you want to set it up just like the floor plates say to set it up. If you want to set it up, for example, just say, we didn't want to cut the floor and that's still the footprint we want. Typically, you would set this up 2 inches wider than this. But you can set it up like that, and then I can show basically how to cut the floor plates so they overlap each other and then put it down like that. So it shows kind of a versatility aspect, if you will.
Meaning the things are wider that way?
You can go up to 31 wide, but you can bring it down a little bit too.
I mean, you kind of want it as wide as possible, don't you?
It all depends if you're ever going to want to put a truck on it.
Trucks need to be narrower.
Truck, because the frame rails on a truck, if you set this at factory width,
Yeah.
the frame rail on a truck will be about 1 inch off the inside edge. And that's not where you want it, because the platforms will want to go like this. So that's why, for example, when we did all the Chrysler Quick Lubes, we set everything up at 23 inches.
So narrower.
Set to set. We set it narrower, but all they were doing, they were changing oil. They weren't trying to work down the middle of the car. So that takes away some aspects, but really, you think about what do you do down the middle of the car? You're not going to take a transmission out on this lift.
No exhaust.
If you want to do an exhaust, then you're kind of getting a little bit narrow, so.
Yeah, then I want to stay wide.
And then the other thing is the floor plate that comes with it is going to go that far. That's what it's made to go, is 39 inches. And that's what the hoses are going to be set at too. If that's the edge of the lift, that's where it's going to, right there.
I mean, this is literally the perfect distance.
What's that?
Right here.
Oh, from the edge of the thing. I mean, if you're going from the edge, no. Yeah, I think the Germans, when they determined 39, of course, it's a meter. And I think they were thinking that, okay, when you're setting them up in a bay, when you're setting them up for production, there's only so wide you can start using because you start eating away from, you know, production space. And here, I think what we would want to do in the future is say, okay, if you want your control station further, then we'll sell another 39-inch piece and another 39 inches worth of hoses to go under that piece, and just as a kit.
Yeah, no one's going to put it in anywhere is going to put it 39 inches. They're going to be like 15 feet away most of the time.
You'd be surprised at how many people put them 39 inches. Well, if I get my chance at them first, I'll usually say, where this thing is, there is no work goes on right here. It's right at the door, front edge of the door. The door opens, it doesn't hit this. If you're working in the engine, you're in front of it. So
Yeah,
there's literally, unless you're maybe changing windshield wipers, that's the only work that goes on in that area.
Well, detailing.
But even 39 inches is more than enough room to get in there if you're, I mean, that gets you to basically right there.
Right. Well,
6 inches in front of there.
I'm gonna have to have some hydraulic lines made then, because I'm not putting it there, obviously.
Well, I can show you how to do it. It's not hard to do. I mean, you just add the hydraulic lines on it. It's take them off the back and add them onto it, and you're done.
With the quick disconnect?
No, these don't have to. That's sprinters.
That's a sprinter
because they're
thing.
mobile.
All right.
These don't have quick disconnects on them. These are just.
So I'm going to have to order some lines in order to finish this install.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a matter of moving the control station back there. That's what it is.
All right, we ready to put this thing in here?
Yeah, we are. You want to make sure and tell everybody hoses go here. Because if you're getting a trucker to drop this off for you, if you orient it right and have him drop it in your garage with his pallet jack and you set it right in the middle of where you want it. Now, do you want the
Say what?
The
end of the ramp.
if it's me going into a place and setting it up, do you want it the pretty version, or do you just want it the way I do it?
Pretty.
Whatever
the prettiest possible.
Because here's the deal. Most people don't have that forklift.
Right.
Most people, and that's the big thing about that lift, is dealing with weight.
Yeah, I don't care about them.
So the way I do it is, as long as they put it in here, and that's what I'm saying, if you get your trucker to, if you're having a home delivery or whatever, and you can get him to place it, figure out which end is the hose end,
right,
which you're gonna have to pop the top of it off, and you set it where it's gonna go, you can get by without having a forklift or literally having to move it. But what that involves is
push it off. Yeah.
you push it off and it goes kaboom on the floor. Now we can put stuff under it, like say, okay, if you got a piece of carpet or something, you can put a piece of carpet under it so it doesn't scar your floor or cardboard or something like that.
The things I do for the people. Take perfectly good functioning things and try to make it better. But we always make it worse before we make it better.
There you go.
It's the way to live. You don't even use your tools, Matt. Used, bro. Real man. Kyle's gonna be promoted to #1 shopper and social media guy. It's gonna be his promotion.
First thing you don't want to do,
Let's throw these away.
you do not want to throw these away.
This is like
these are
gold foam. This is foam for the gods.
9-pound high density foam.
Yeah, we thought they were shipping.
These are your transitions between your lift and your car, for most people.
I had to be careful because my mom loves foam. She steals it.
Yeah, they would have been gone.
She steals it to pack people's, pack their stuff.
Don't throw these away either, because we're going to use these.
Okay.
Gave me the green version because I'm obviously a beginner, right?
Yeah,
Yep. Green for babies.
Pretty soon I'll graduate to the black slope. Let's just both get on this and just grab down on there, and let's lift these out of here, and let's just set them right back
This is
here.
pretty. This is true OG blue here. Real man blue.
Okay, so now that's all hooked up. The lift is all hosed together here, so we don't want to worry about that. Next thing we want is we want a hammer. Now on the front end, when you do this, you want to make sure it's good if you have help that you can hold that plastic back, because you don't want to hit these hoses in here when you start swinging, nor your helper's head. What we're going to do is we're just going to take that and pull that down like that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
It's all covered.
May, we're not going to have to worry about that on this one. It's just going to fold down. All right.
Up and out.
And there's your lift. So, if you have a knife, I thought I saw one setting up there.
I
Well,
don't know.
I've got the
Depends
bands
on-
in my hand. I'm going to
Depends on what you plan on doing with this knife. I don't know. I want to give up my real knife. Here, you can use that knife.
Use the one that you can change the blade.
all I'm going to do is get this plastic
Okay,
out of our
would've
way.
been okay. Don't want to scrape up my Chris Reeve.
Hold these up here.
You need directions?
I have no idea. Hold that right there for me so I don't accidentally hit a hose. Not that this knife would cut a hose. All right.
So, this is kind of magical that I don't have to try to figure out which hose goes where and all that stuff. It's all
It's hooked up.
ready to go.
We're going to figure out which platform goes which way. Okay, so before we do that, let's pick this up. And since this is heavy, what we're going to do is we're going to go set it
Straight
like
back.
kind of right out in front. So, oh my God. Yeah, you went that way. You weren't kidding. Okay. Okay, so the white teed is the hyperflow line. This is the return line when you're equalizing, okay?
Okay.
So this little hose, as you notice, goes to the bottom platform. That hose goes to this platform. In that hose, for future reference, there's a flow restrictor. It has a 1.2 millimeter diameter hole in it.
Okay.
All the fluid that goes into those platforms goes through a 1.2 millimeter diameter hole. Likewise, it comes out through that hole too.
Okay.
That's what keeps it from coming down too fast. That's what meters it. So what I'm going to do is, and it's going to be really obvious, this hose is one master cylinder, okay?
Yep.
This hose is the other master cylinder. Which hose is longer?
That one.
The top one, right?
So that goes further away.
Exactly, because the platforms, the control station's going over there, so the long hose goes away from the control station. So if the control station were setting on this side, we would put that platform on this side. So that's the first thing you have to do.
Got it.
So this platform is going to come off and be our driver's platform. So now, as if you have a forklift handy, it's real easy.
But if you don't,
Bring it in and just put it over there, and you can set it on the floor. But we don't have a forklift. We're going to pretend we don't have a forklift.
gotcha.
'cause
So this
most
is what you
people
do
don't.
if you were at home.
Yes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set one of those boards right there. Actually, let's use cardboard for this one. Okay.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out that, and we're going to pull out this. I'll give one person one of those, and I'll take the other. So what we're going to do here is grab right here, and we're going to push. And that'll happen. Matt, if you could, just grab these hoses that are
Keep
hooking
them
on
getting
this,
pinched.
and just make sure that they don't get down and don't get pinched. Go a little bit further. Don't get your hands on that though. Just stay away from it. Because when it decides to go, right?
That's
And
not
it's on
so
the floor.
bad.
That was easy.
Each one of those platforms weighs approximately 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Now that we're done with that side, we're going to go the other way with this one now. Yeah, that one's just going to end up being under it. So get your, I noticed you have a floor jack. Let's just get a floor jack under this on one end so we can pick it up, and let's try to get that. And we can pick up the floor tile too if you'd like.
Seth's garage floor jack is coming to your India at some point. I see what you're doing there.
I think most shops will probably, if you're buying a lift, chances are you already have a floor jack, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, that's what you've been using.
That's what you've been using. That's exactly right. To come out? What a deal.
So the moral of the story is get your get the truck guy to drop the thing off as close to where you need it as possible.
And if I also might add, wherever you want the front of your lift, you want those hoses there. Because if the hoses end up being back here, it's really hard to turn this whole thing on the floor around after you've done this. So you want to make sure your hoses are on the front end of your lift. Take off the handle. Trick on taking off the handle is don't separate it. If you don't separate it, you won't have to put it back together. Top one, because it's wider, is longer than the bottom one. And by not separating it, take it off like that, because this thing will come apart and then all those things will fall out of it, and then you've got to put the whole thing back together again. So now we need the 4mm, I believe.
German sourced parts, American built. How does this, what's the difference?
Between the German and this one?
Yeah.
The German uses a series of pieces for the power unit, separate motor, separate pump. And for the American version, we actually use an ETL certified Bosch motor pump unit. So we comply with all the US standards. That's basically the difference between the two. But if I come in here and I look at like that valve block, that valve block is exactly the same as on the German one. The cylinders in there, exactly the same that are on the German one.
Are we going to notice any difference performance-wise or anything?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Works exactly the same. 4mm, that'll be long enough.
There you go.
Trade you.
So we can custom order these in basically any color we can dream up, right? I mean, they can paint the platforms and
To a degree, yes. Factory manager doesn't like it too much, but
yeah.
but
Well, I
yes.
mean, it's a cost. Like, well, I don't know what it costs, but it's not free.
A box of paint, which you have to buy to do that, can be anywhere from $200 to $600.
Right.
Just the box of powder.
Right. That's all right. You're buying this once.
And that's true. You're buying this lift once. That's exactly right. Chances are real good if you buy this lift, it's going to be around for at least 25 years.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to need some new tiles to put the box on top of.
As you notice, those Allens were hidden back in there.
Yeah,
You
got
don't
it.
necessarily see them. You just have to know they're
Yeah.
back there.
So here's our pump. So the difference is the German pump is a submerged pump, right?
The motor runs in the oil reservoir. And for the United States people, the testing people, that is not good. They don't like that.
Got it.
So this is a Bosch motor and pump assembly. It says Rexroth on it, but that's a Bosch company. So
All right, so we need AW32. You can get at any auto parts store. And a
you
funnel.
have it. Our snips again. We're going to cut loose our power wire.
So what is this? Shoot, I didn't even think about this. What power do we need here?
208, 230, 20 amp circuit.
I don't have that.
Yeah, you do. Isn't that? What is that?
That's just
That
plugged
wasn't
into the
110,
wall.
was it?
Yeah, it's plugged into the wall. Shoot. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I would have assumed that lift was a 220 volt lift. Now it accounts for why it was so slow.
Well, we're out of luck.
No, we're not.
We don't have any power.
No, we're not out of luck. We're not out of luck. Where's all your, I mean, you want it to go up, right? You'll have an electrician put power in for it.
We're going to have to, yeah.
Okay, but in the meantime, we can figure this out. So,
There's nothing in this room.
you have a DVOM,
No.
a voltmeter.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I don't. Not here. At my house.
So we need a voltmeter.
Okay.
You give me a voltmeter and 2 extension cords, we'll have this thing running. No problem. 210 volt extension cords.
I mean, there's. This isn't even. This is a 30 amp right here.
That's 30 amp will work too.
Freaking. I didn't even think about that. I'm such an idiot. I would have had that done.
Okay, second run to Home Depot. Okay, Matt,
Yep.
don't use that one. Don't. That's a nice cord. Second run to Home Depot. Go get this plug, which is I can't read it.
Twist lock. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a L6-30, which is what you want. Get that, an extension cord, just like that, enough to go from there to there, which is what, 25 feet, and a 110 plug, the male end. And we'll get it hooked up here in just a second.
Say that again. What do you need a 110 plug for if you're going to plug it in there?
Because what I'm going to do to save money, because I'm a cheapskate, I'm going to cut off the male end of the plug. Actually, you don't have to get the male end of the plug. I just have to have that. I'm going to wire the new L6 plug onto this so it goes in there. It will come down here. I'm going to use power for one leg, I'll use neutral for the second leg, and I'll use ground for ground. And then I'll take the end I cut off of there, and I will plug it on, I will wire it up onto here, and I will plug it on that end of the extension cord.
Got it. So we need,
And voila.
we need an extension cord.
And an L6 plug.
All right, well, we'll use this one because I don't give a crap about this. This is just an extra
And now we
cord
just
that I
need an
have.
L6 plug unless you want me to unwire that one. But if you're going to be using this lift, you might just want to keep it on there until you get an electrician here. It might be worth the trip.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can just take this one off and save the whole thing. Because we don't need air for this lift.
That's my bad. I saw that lift operating and thought, well,
Yeah, no, it's one.
you've got a 220 volt lift there. But now the slowness of it, that's why. I get it now.
Just gonna run a big extension cord.
Big extension cord.
Little extension cord.
It's just using 2 leg. I mean, it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
3 wires. It's
Yeah.
just makes it work.
All right, so these come unloaded, right? Or
Dry.
unoiled, yep.
Dry, yeah, because oil would run out of them if you put it in there. So
Now this is different than an engine, right? We're not lubricating the engine, if you will.
no, it fills space.
Right.
The oil goes from here and fills space in there in the
Right.
piston. Yeah, it doesn't.
And so it's a pump,
Yep.
not an engine, right? It's a pump.
Reservoir, pump, motor. Motor spins pump sucks oil up, puts it down those hoses into the cylinder.
Got it.
That's all it does. And someone's going to have to hold that.
That I can do. I'm a world-class assistant. So, changing this oil, you have to do that?
You can. I have guys that have these lifts that are 20 years old that have never changed oil in them. It's not like a 2-post. You've got valving and everything in this. It wouldn't be a bad idea to do it. Yeah, 4 or 5 years. The use that a garage, a homeowner is going to have, is not going to be anything like what a dealership puts on them.
Sure.
But even at that, as hydraulic fluid gets old, it gets sticky. So the short hoses that I showed you, where the connection is there, or that connection is there, you take up the hose cover, you take the hose before it gets in there, just take that apart, put that in a bucket, go,
And turn on.
and it will pump it down until there's no fluid left in it.
And then just
Reattach the hose and put new oil in it. It's
Right.
going to get 95% of the oil out of it.
5 years from now, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure it's 32 weight, because 46, especially if you get in a cold area, will get really, really thick.
So the manual suggests what, 2 liters or 8 liters?
Which would be 2 gallons.
2+ gallons, right? But if you didn't, you don't have to like measure it to the exact.
My rule of thumb, even though the thing's got a dipstick on it, if there's enough oil to make the lift go to the top, it's got enough oil in
Got
it.
it.
Now this being hyperflow is also a little bit different, because as you go to the top, fluid will go from the master side over into its slave cylinder. And when that slave cylinder gets to the top, it will come back via the white line, which is the return line, and that's the bleeding process. So right off the bat, it might take a little over 2 gallons. But we're going to find that out today. But this lift should have been bled at the factory, and the cylinders should be full. Because the last thing they do before they hook it up is run the thing to the top and bleed it out, and then suck the fluid back out of the tank.
So since we're here filling this up, explain to me, there's no air latch. So there's no safety mechanism, right? Or wrong?
Yeah, yes, it's the hydraulic safety mechanism. It's a redundant hydraulic system.
So how does that work? What happens if someone cuts both of the lines?
Someone cuts both of the lines, it's going to come down.
Okay.
It will come down. But remember I pointed out the 2 short hoses that go into the master cylinders?
Yeah.
How big was the flow restrictor? 1.2 millimeter. And it's screwed up into the cylinder. It's not in the rubber part of the hose. It's in the steel.
Okay.
Okay, so all the fluid that goes in has to go through the 1.2 millimeter hole, all the fluid that comes out.
Okay.
So if someone would cut both lines at the same time, or both hoses would burst at the same time, and keep in mind it's 5,500 PSI double braid hydraulic hose, okay? And in 20 years, it's never happened.
So
It would come down at
the same
exactly the
speed.
same rate as if you pulled this handle all the way down like you're letting your car down.
and then
And it would come down even,
that was the question.
because it still has the slave cylinder on the opposite side, which is basically holding the master in check.
So in other words, an airlock is redundant.
It's double redundant at that point.
Yeah.
So
And then you got to run airlines. You got to deal with all that.
it's something else to deal with. But if you would blow one line, for example, you still have a master and a slave, a master under one side and a slave under the other. That is a perfectly good system that will hold the lift in the air. It'll actually raise the lift. But once that line blows and you let it down, if you try to lift it again, which people would say, oh, I'm not going to get that fixed quite yet. You would if you would go and re-engage the motor, the fluid is just going to squirt out on the floor on the broken line. It won't go up anymore because it can't build pressure.
But it can come down.
But it can come down. Yeah, it'll come down.
So what I said to you is, no, I want the air latches, and you're like, you don't need it. So people can chill out. You don't need.
I've got pictures of where air latches on this style lift, not a Nussbaum. They have 4 cylinders. They look like this. They smell like this, but they're not this, because they don't separate them. They don't have a true redundant A hydraulic, B hydraulic. They just go out and they make a T and they put hoses on. So one hose breaks, you lose everything.
Yeah.
And then,
That's what takes you so long to equalize it too, right?
yes,
I mean, that the one that was in here before took me like a darn near a week to get it right. Playing with valves and letting air, bleeding it and rebleeding it, and then trying to get it to, I have to like pull the valve at the end to get one to go up a little more than the other. And even to this day, the left, the closer one would come up first, and then the other one would come up second.
What we're getting ready to do, as soon as we get this thing back on, we're going to lift it, and I would almost be willing to bet you lunch that both those platforms are going to pop at exactly the same time, and they're going to go up even all the way to the top.
Right off the bat.
But going back to the latch, you know, you have a lift that goes up and down all the time. Most people don't think to check their locks.
Right.
So all of a sudden you have a lock that sticks open, and I've got pictures of lifts that have done this. You blow a hose, one lock is open because the piston's out, and one lock catches.
And dumps the car off the side.
Well,
yeah.
neither one of them dumped the car, but the car was at an angle about like this. And scary. So, do you want to do the honor? Or
No,
do you
you
need to?
go for it.
Okay, I'll
like
pull
to
it up.
watch. So now, there are no limit switches on this.
Nope.
It just stops when it gets to full height.
No, it won't stop. It'll go into hyperflow mode. The lift will stop going up.
Yeah.
But then it's in hyperflow mode, and it's just passing oil from one cylinder to the other cylinder, and then back to the
So I don't have to
control.
memorize or draw a line.
Nothing.
Because the other lift would get stuck on the limit switch and I couldn't get it down.
Nothing.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh.
That's it. It's in hyperflow mode now is what it's doing.
Yes.
And you will notice right there, it came back about that far. There's a little bleeder hole and a laser cut line in there. So when the bleeder hole aligns with the laser cut line, it allows it to bypass. So as soon as you shut off, what it'll do is that hole will come back down until it gets out of the line of that laser cut line. And once it does, that's where it stopped, and that's equal. That's how it works. It's that simple.
So redundant, one's bigger than the other. One piston.
Correct. So
Explain this to me. How does this thing work?
let me put this down real quick. So what you have, this is the master cylinder right here. You can always tell because it's got the short hose on it.
Master cylinder meaning that's what's coming off of the pump.
That's your master cylinder, right?
Got it.
So what happens is it comes up into here.
Yep.
As it comes up, there's a double sleeve, there's a double seal. So now that seal's like right here, okay? All the fluid that's down here came from the pump.
Yep.
When that was all the way down, there was fluid above it, fluid above that seal also.
Okay.
So as it came up, it pushed it. There's a hose that comes out. It's right there. It comes out. And through all the swirly gorlies here, we're going to come over here. This is the master on this side. That's right there is the slave hose. So as that one went up, it pushed its fluid over to this side.
Okay.
This side, sorry. Okay, I got to look and see which one it is here. So this one is my master. So as that one goes up, it takes fluid and pushes it over the hose to this one. Okay, completely separate hydraulic circuit. Here's the two hoses.
Yeah.
There's check valves in there, so as fluid goes by them, it can't go back. The second one comes over to this master, and as it goes up, it takes its fluid and pushes it over to that slave. So that slave can't move unless this master gives it fluid, and this slave can't move unless that master gives it fluid.
So they work in tandem.
They work together and against each other.
Got it.
If you're familiar, cables on a two-post lift, they work exactly the same. One has to go to give cable to the other one, so it will go. And when it goes, it gives cable back to the other one, so it will go.
Okay.
It does exactly the same thing hydraulically.
That makes sense. And then the check mechanism is the tiny little orifice that, you know, it can only go down so fast.
Yeah, it can only go.
And they can only both go down at the same time. They can only go up at the same time. They can only go down at the same time.
Exactly.
One line or two lines.
Doesn't make any difference. So if I go like this, without weight, it's painfully slow.
Right.
But wherever you stop,
Is there an speed adjustment on how fast it can go down?
yeah, it's how far you pull the handle.
Got it.
And it's going to work better with a car on it,
Sure.
because you pretty much have to open it all the way up to get it to come down without a car on it.
And so now it's pushing, the weight of the pedestal is pushing the fluid back down out of the lines.
They're coming right back in the lines they went. But what we're going to do is we're going to run it back up.
And then get our.
We're going to get our blocks out of it. And our cardboard out of it. Because it's a lot easier to work with, believe it or not, when it's in the air. When it's on the ground, it's pretty much just 1,000 pounds of dead weight. But once you get it up here, what you can do is I'm going to go like this. Now pull these out. Kick that one out the back or out the, just so it's not under this side. There you go, okay. Just like that. And just like that, you can pull your cardboard out.
Okay.
And let it down.
No, like, nothing you need to take out of it or ships like this?
No.
You didn't take any pins out or any safety things or anything for shipping?
Nothing.
Got it. It's ready to roll. Now we need to set our position. And the good news is the holes are nowhere near the other holes from the other lift. So that means we can drill.
That is good news. Yeah. That's very good news. So right about here is a sweet spot. So get on the back of that. Just come. Oop. You might push it all the way in and push like there. You go. Ready? Let's go forward. And let's come to the other side now. That might be just about right. Let's pull this one forward. And all I'm doing is lining up on your old hose mark.
Now you have choice of how narrow or wide you can make it.
Yes. The hoses basically, you could put them both together if you just got to figure out a place to do with the hoses.
So we're going to have to get extensions for the hose.
To get your control station back to where you
So now, do you have to get all the fluid out of the line to do that?
No. Just have a rag when you open it up and.
Got it, because only that little bit of line, whatever's in the line there.
Right, you don't want to take your lines open with this up in the air, because
Sure.
if you take the line open with this in the air,
Yeah.
well, if you only take one off, one side will come down. If you lose one hose, you're going to lose an inch or an inch and a half on one platform.
Right.
And that's when everything, the slave on that side takes over and does its job.
So I guess I mean I liked where mine was, so I might as well keep it the same, right?
And that might be a little bit wider than yours was, because those hoses are awfully tight going across there. Well, but they're kinked up, so.
So it was back to here. All right.
Now, if you do that, you're going to, because the hose,
Got it. So we want to stay
Things.
underneath.
you might want to.
I mean, we're probably gonna have to recut this anyway, aren't we?
No, not if you bob that off right there. We can leave it right there and run the hoses right there. But the hoses run right off the front edge of this on this one. So you're gonna have to bob one side or the other off of that, because our hose
Chase is bigger.
is a little bit wider than what you have. Yep, see, it's a little bit wider than that. And even with the other piece, it's wider than that yet.
And we're gonna have to cut it. So
we can do that. If you want to cut that off, or if you want to do something different, we can do something different. with it.
we're gonna have to figure out a solution for people so that they can dictate, where's that controller gonna go. And we're gonna have to start supplying hydraulic lines and then supplying.
Well, this goes, when you put this in, I'm just going to use the correct one first. So this would go just like this,
Okay.
because those hoses drop inside there,
Right.
like that.
So you got one there, one here,
One going on in,
and it's gonna stop short, isn't it?
39 inches. I know the company that manufactures it. We can probably get you another piece.
I mean, everybody's going to need at least one, if not two.
And there's no reason it can't be made in, okay, if you want to go 39 inches, you can go 39. If you want to go 78, you can go 78. The only problem is when you start changing things up, if you look inside there, inside the back of the control station, there's not a lot of place to hide a lot of hydraulic hose.
Right.
And hydraulic hose doesn't coil up like
Right.
an air hose or like an electrical line or something like that. It's kind of rigid.
Just trying to think of how we make this practical for people to buy. Okay, so those two go there.
That's going to be just about right as far as your width. It's going to be right on the money.
How short is this going to be here? This one isn't going to make it.
No. Or you dictate what has to be. I mean, there's no one says that this has to be this long. We can take a chop saw and cut those and make
Right.
those and say, okay,
That's why I'm saying we should ship these with like 3 or 4 of these things. That way people could 90 it, they could, or 45 it, they could cut it with whatever length they need. And
but the hydraulic hose still becomes the issue.
Well, then we need to ship them with, we need to start making, or find a hydraulic supplier. Because I'm telling you, there's not a garage on the planet that's going to do a 39-inch gap for their, for their scissor lift. It may be commercially, but not home garage. So I'm going to have to figure, if we want to sell these, I've got to sell it to people, ready to go. And so I'm going to have to figure out where to source hydraulic hose.
Hydraulic hose is it's an 8-light fitting. That's all these fittings that go right there. That's what's called an 8-light.
That's what I'm thinking. If I start providing an option where people can buy different lengths, because all you do is before we put it up, just unscrew it and screw the other line in.
No, it's right here. You screw it in here.
Yeah, screw it here, but then screw it, attach it to right there.
No,
right?
no, you just take this out. The line, your extension line has a male fitting here, and you take this one out, screw that one into the male, and then put the new female on
Ooh,
here.
yeah.
It's right in. It's all out there. Once you get it hooked up, someone could actually say, once they get it in and you just get it up and set like this and say, okay, here's what I need to do for my thing. And then
you can cut it exactly the length.
It could be custom and say, okay, we're going to send it with this. This is what it's going to have. Set your control station there, figure out what you want to do with it, and then tell us what you need. And then you can come back and put the hose extension lines and all that kind of stuff onto it.
All right, so now how do we untangle this here?
That's a bird of another color.
You're gonna have to take
We got to take them apart. But you want to knock this little thing out so we can
Yeah, let me get the cutter.
just your.
Tile cutter.
Oh, is it a tile cutter?
Yeah.
I didn't know if you used your.
Yeah, and then I'll have to order another one of those.
Another one of what?
Another one of these pieces, these. So
Which that could be here tomorrow, but
Yeah, so I can cut it. So we need another one to go, at least to here.
that'll go right into the front of the control station.
I see how it goes. Okay.
Just goes right up to that and just barely tucks under it.
This thing isn't exactly unstable. I mean, you could bolt it down if you wanted to or not if you didn't, right? I mean,
Well, when your thing is when you're pulling and pushing on it,
yeah.
you've got
It'd be
when you're
nice
at the
to have
top
it.
of it, you got a lot of leverage.
Got it. So that means this little cutout here, I'm going to want to get a full tile and put it in there. So this is where we want the lift.
Yeah, that's
here.
pretty much. I mean, just judging by that, by the time that slides over to there, those are just about perfect.
Got it.
Where they need to be.
Okay. So we're going to cut both of these then, right?
You're going to cut I would cut. You're going to use this, right?
Yep.
I would. Well, look. It's dang near unsnap it and you're done. If it's like your other one.
Yep. Well, let's do it.
Oh, look at there. That hurt.
Just center it up. That's pretty good. Okay, so that will just multi-tool it off.
Beautiful.
That little guy there.
Right there.
Kick it over to the right a little bit. Boom.
You ready?
Let's do it.
With vacuum. Not very thick at all.
I'm telling you, that little SDS is awesome. Love that thing. So now what's your, what's the real man talk on concrete anchors here? Like how far should you put them in there? And
Drill them all the way through.
Yeah.
Suck all the dust out of the hole.
Yep. Done.
You want to make sure because the dust will keep them from wedge. And the reason you drive it all the way through. Okay, so one of you ever want to move your lift, then all you have to do is take off the nut, take a punch and drive it down.
Yeah.
You're not lifting the lift off of the anchor. Secondly, if you've ever had an anchor go in and you start tightening this up and all of a sudden the anchor starts spinning like this, but yet you can't pull it up, but yet you didn't drill all the way through, so you can't drive it down. Now you're moving your lift and starting over again.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just a good idea just to drill them, to drive them all the way through. I usually take and just leave a little bit of the stud like that. Now, if you're going to have a lot of leveling to do on your lift, you want to basically put it down a little bit further. So you get, if you've got to pull this corner up, then when you get it down, you can do that and you can have room to go.
How would you level? Just shim it?
Use shims. On this, if you would ever have to level it, front to rear, if you're on like a slope with an 1/8 of an inch per foot slope, which is standard for like a shop or whatever for water to flow.
No leveling needed.
Front to rear.
Yeah.
But side to side, very important, because if you take it to the extreme and you have two platforms, let's just say this one's at a 45-degree angle, where does it go? It goes this way.
Yeah.
When you have these going up, they need to be, now one could be a 1/2 inch higher than this one, but when they go up, they have to be plumb, they have to be level this way, so they both go up in the same line. Because if one's coming in towards the other one, and you've got your car on there, now all of a sudden it's locked into the car, and the two platforms as they go up are fighting each other, because they're trying to squeeze in at the top.
And over time, that'll cause problems.
And then on here, this block right here, and there, that's the place that supports that supports the load right there.
Yeah.
So if you put a shim here, that's fine, but you're not supporting it under there. So what you need to do is it needs to be shimmed here, but it also needs to be shimmed under here. On the back, if you have to shim this entire stainless steel block from there to there has to be shimmed. And the easiest way to do it, if I've got to shim this thing to get it up, I will put washers. I'll get some big washers and I'll put it right under here and right under here. I'll put it sideways, and then I'll basically get level across there. And you have to be careful because you've got load bearing right there, so it's going to want to bow your frame a little bit. So you need to kind of put what you're going to put under there and there to get it level so it doesn't bow out on you. And then the best thing to use then, you get it all leveled up like that. Home Depot, quick drying concrete. It comes in a little tub, about this tall, about this big. I think it's $12, something like that. You mix it up. The key here is, and this is me being, take the bag out and use the tub you get it in to mix it. But keep in mind, when you mix it, you got about 7 or 8 minutes with it. And just wear gloves and just shove it under here and then clean it off on both sides. I usually try to get a paint stick or something to put in there. And when I'm shoving against it, I shove against the paint stick. It kind of acts as a form. You get it about as thick as toothpaste, maybe a little bit runnier. And then you let that set for 24 hours before you operate the lift. And then that'll keep it level
Leave your
on the
washers
backside.
Underneath.
Huh?
Leave your washers underneath your.
Yeah, I just leave the the washers there and the washer right back here.
Yeah.
And I usually end up I just use your grouting down there. Grout's cheap to go that much extra.
So that's more common in like older, like old homes and stuff like that, or old.
Well, where I run into it most is in when people are taking an old wash bay in a dealership and wanting to convert it and put a lift in there.
Yeah.
Because you've got concrete falling off to the washer, to the wash bay. And so that's where I find it most.
Got it. But here.
But it's not hard to do. It's a little time consuming. But again, when the lift is up in the air, it's real easy to lift up and position and get stuff under it. Usually requires a helper, but like I said, I buy some 1-inch washers. Usually if I'm doing that, I'll go and buy the galvanized ones. So if I do leave them under there, then they don't rust out. So again, and I'm using this in the front. You don't have to worry too much about it. This one gets a little bit tricky just because of where it's at. Of course, you don't want to beat on the nut there because you can screw up the threads. And what I'll typically do, I have another anchor. Just like that.
We don't even have to cut these off.
If we did our job right, no, we don't have to.
So these are 1/2 inch by 4.
4.5, I think is what we got. 1/2 inch by 5, 1/2 inch by 5.5. Well, I wouldn't go any shorter than these, but that's all you need. There's really not, unless you would terribly misload the lift.
These aren't doing a whole heck of a lot.
They're not really, they're pretty much keeping the lift from going forward and sliding.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put a bunch of weight out there and had virtually no weight back here,
maybe.
then maybe these two would keep the lift from going forward, but they don't do that much. That's not saying don't anchor it though. That's not saying that at all.
Well, you guys put a car on it at darn SEMA, you don't anchor it. Let's see how long before I debadge it. We'll at least wait 10 minutes till after Byron leaves before I debadge it.
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh, you taking the name off? Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't say anything. I was talking about. How tight do you want these? You want them?
75 foot-pounds is what the manual says they need to go. If you pull that with all your might and pull it down and it's tight, it's tight.
Love this little guy.
Okay, if you could start lowering it now.
Okay.
Pick it up. Pick the handle up. There you go.
There we go.
It's a safety on it.
I like that I can control the speed.
Yeah.
Now what are you doing?
Well, what we're going to do, because of the no mechanical lock, see the hoses that we have?
Oh yeah, we're gonna.
I'm using the ends of the crate because it's something everyone's going to have. I'm going to lower it down. I'm going to pull these ramps out, and I'm going to let it lower onto these. And once it stops on that, then I can disconnect all my hoses and straighten all those out and run Those are where I want them to run them.
Got it.
Okay, all the pressure off of it. So now we can disconnect hoses and do what we want to with those. But you never, if you try to do that before you anchor it, you will, the back end will just pick up off the ground.
Oh yeah.
It will literally lift the back end up off the ground. And if you've got it this high and you disconnect a hose, it's sometimes not a pretty sight. Yeah, that old one's fine. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna soak up hydraulic fluid with it.
Toss it.
Okay, so I got everything disconnected here.
Yep.
Let's just say, oh my gosh, I forgot where everything went. Okay,
Which I'm sure I probably would do.
so the two that go into the top, these are your two power lines right here.
Right.
Okay, which ones are the two power lines on there?
The two fat ones?
They're all the same size.
No, I mean the two fat cylinders.
No, it's always the one with the little short hose. This one right here. Those are your master cylinders. The little short hose that goes right there and comes out to right here.
Because the longer hose are the ones that are slave or connecting the.
This line is always the one that it actually dumps back into the tank.
Got
But
it.
that way, and it doesn't matter if this one goes on that side or when you pull them back up here and you switch them, it makes absolutely no difference on that one and that one.
Got it.
It's just fluid coming out of this one and fluid coming out of that one. They're going through a check valve, then they go through that and go into there. So it makes absolutely no difference.
And the reason we're doing this is just so you can get them all
They
lined
have,
up all pretty and.
they have to because if you don't, they will not fit down in those hose covers. And it's just better right now to spend 15 minutes and get them all nice and straight and pretty rather than fight them and end up spending 30 minutes trying to put them in there and cussing when they won't fit and then going back and doing what we're doing right here again anyway.
So are these tops galvanized and then powder coated or just powder coated?
They're just powder coated.
You can get these galvanized or it's the Sprinter that comes galvanized?
We could galvanize the tops of them in North Carolina, yes.
Yeah. I don't know that I'd want that, but I'm just wondering if that was an option. The Sprinter did look pretty good. The Sprinter, by the way, I keep referring to as the mid-rise. Looked pretty good in that galvanized looking finish.
And with the old style, when we're taking these hoses off and we're getting a little air in them, we would have had to go through a little bit of a bleeding process. Not with hyperflow, just run it to the top and hold it about 10 seconds. That air is going to be gone.
So is Hyperflow a unique, obviously that's branded, but is that a unique thing?
It is very unique to Nussbaum. I don't believe there's any other lift company that has that. Let's pull this control station over here to where we kind of want it. Grab it, it's kind of... Now what we want to do is move our temporary plug out of the way.
So what you're suggesting is rather than replacing that line there, just leave that alone. Yeah, that way I won't have to pull up the.
Don't have to do anything. Just
Yeah,
just
get a
take it
little
off there,
extension, yeah.
put the extension on, and run it back to where you want
So
it.
it needs to be a.
1/4 inch line, double braid, with 8 light fittings on it, a male and a female.
Gotcha.
This one.
Yeah, it's
Okay. There, we're good to go
so
again.
much simpler.
What's that?
So much simpler than what I had before.
It's extremely
No
simple.
airlines.
This will fit much nicer with the little hose cut out on it. hold that kind of like that. Put this kind of like that.
Yeah, it's coming off. As long as it's not a paper sticker. As long as it's not paper. Paper stickers should not exist.
I mean, you spent more time equalizing your old one than it took just to put this one in.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, hours. I did it over the course of 3 different days because I kept getting so frustrated.
I bet I could probably get fired for what I'm doing right here, but
Well, you tell them to put it on straight, and we'll leave it. Just go like, well, yeah. Okay, gosh, the height is so awesome.
what's that?
The height is so awesome. Just that extra 4 inches.
So what we do here, flat end of the spring always goes against there. So like this and like this. Turn it like that. Or this one. Now hold that spring up there.
That way you don't push it too far. So the spring sits like this.
If you put the spring on like that, see how I've got, see this little ramp right here? If you go that way, it won't work. It's got to be in there.
Got it.
It's got to be inside there because then you can't get the bolt on if you do it if you do it the wrong way.
Oh, that's interesting. The spring.
Keeps it out so when it goes down, it doesn't get caught up on the floor and go straight down.
Oh, okay.
Just like that.
That's a lot different. Okay, I see. Interesting. Otherwise it hangs. And then
okay, a little banger action here.
does it have to go that way?
Here, let me get this one in while you're there.
All right, so that's a wrap on these. I guess we'll call this episode 1. Episode 2 will be the ramp should be here tomorrow. The next day we'll get the ramps. I'll cut some Swiss tracks around, however it needs to be cut. I'll get some extended. I need 24-inch extensions on the hoses to get my controller in place. Electrician's coming tomorrow they say to look at it. I told them, look, let me just tell you what we need to do. And then they said, well, we're going to come and give me an estimate. So we're going to run a 20 amp 220, 20 amp 220 circuit, single pole. Should be fine to operate. But I'm excited. This lift here is, although it doesn't look remarkably different, this is like, you know, I had a Kia in here, which, you know, Kia kind of gets you where you need to get to go. But this is like the Porsche. And this has always been on my list to have a Nussbaum in my life at some point. I met Byron 4 years ago at SEMA in the end of 2016, and I saw it, and I knew that was the lift that I wanted. They've come down a lot in price, though, have they not? Like 30% or so, something like that? Yeah, so the practicality of this has increased quite a bit. These are now produced here in the U.S., so we have full support here in the U.S. as well, and an ability to do some custom stuff as well. So reach out. We are an authorized Nussbaum dealer. I'm going to continue to share information on the Sprinter you saw us do in the giveaway garage, and then of course this is the Jumbo 7. We have a Jumbo 9 going in garage in Atlanta that we've designed, and although this is rather expensive in the realm of lift cost. I think we're going to prove that it's worth every penny. So anyway, thanks to Byron for coming down, saving us 6 hours of our lives, made it a much simpler, cleaner install. We got the old lift out, new lift in, project done in a couple of hours, and with a trip to Home Depot in between. So I'll be sure to update you. Episode 2 will be finishing up the project, put the ramps in, run the extensions, get the controller where it belongs, plug it into the proper outlet, and we'll call it complete. So thanks for watching, and appreciate you guys buying these from me. It helps us out, helps us do these things. So anyway, catch you on the next one. See you soon.